The following is a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
Crossed Flags, a racing podcast. It's your midweek fix for racing news and information. Brought to you by the Championship Racing Network. Now let's head trackside to join your hosts, Steve West and Matt Nicholson.
Welcome back in, Crossed Flags. Welcome back to us. I'm Steve West, that's Matt Nicholson, and this weekend officially, everybody's going to be back to racing after the Olympic break. Last weekend, we had almost everybody. Formula One decided they were going to sit out for one more week because, you know, they get pretty much the entire month of August off. Whatever. Coming up a little bit later, we're going to talk about Michigan because we saw something both once in the Xfinity Series and once in the Cup Series race that we haven't really seen on a regular basis for quite a while. Matter of fact, the last time I remember this was, I think Daytona last summer.
You would be correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be correct.
Not something that happens as often as it used to. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the 2025 schedule as well because we had yet another thing confirmed on it. But a quick couple of things here running down the news. Just after we get done with the 2-hour version of the show last Saturday, what will become the Haas Factory team, what is now Stewart Haas Racing, will become next year the Haas Factory team, has set their driver lineup for 2025. We already knew Cole Custer was going to be moving back up from Xfinity to Cup Series. He'll take over the 41 car. They set their lineup for the Xfinity Series. For those of you that were hoping it was Hailie Deegan, or for those of you that were laughing about the possibility of Hailie Deegan, you're either very upset or you are confirmed and you're laughing. I don't know which. I'll leave that up to you. We know that it's not Hailie Deegan. We know who it is.
To me personally, it's kind of a surprise.
This is kind of a heavy-hitting crew.
But it can be turning into, for sure, a heavy-hitting crew, no doubt. Sheldon Creed, moving from Joe Gibbs Racing over to the Haas Factory team to take over the 00 car.
This is the interesting part for this. Sheldon Creed, this will mark, I believe, his third team in 3 years.
Third team in 3 years.
RCR to Joe Gibbs to Haas Factory.
But with him, my question mark is why is he leaving JGR?
That is a curiosity.
All of a sudden, why is he leaving JGR?
I mean, no disrespect to Richard Childress Racing, but Joe Gibbs Racing does seem to be the better of the two companies when it comes to the quality and consistency in the performance of the rides. Now, we can sit here and look at what Stewart Haas Racing has done over the last couple of years in the Xfinity Series and say, yeah, they've got a really good Xfinity program.
Sure.
So, it'll be interesting to watch this, but he'll take over the 00 that Cole Custer's going away. So what about the 98, other than the fact that technically that number is also going away?
Yeah, the 98 car will be going to mothballs, as the old saying goes. Then you've got it transferring over to the 41 car, and none other than Sam Mayer taking over the wheel of the 41.
Coming over from Junior Motorsports. Wow.
This one was the moment, because it had been explicitly said within media and within any time you talk to Sam, the only change that he would make is if he was going up to Cup, he would not take a lateral move Xfinity ride. Well, he took the lateral move Xfinity ride.
Yeah.
So, what is Uncle Gene throwing around here?
Well, and I'm wondering how much of it is Uncle Gene, how much of it is RFK Racing, because as we've said, Haas Factory team next year will have an alliance with RFK Racing, and how much of this is Ford Performance looking to kind of restock their talent level at the levels underneath the Cup Series side of things?
I would safely say that reloading the cannon let's call it reloading the cannon, with these two, that's a solid start.
Yeah.
Very solid start.
Absolutely.
Because if you didn't make this move, Creed stays with JGR, Mayer stays with Junior Motorsports, or he steps up to take a Cup ride, which he was supposedly rumored to take one of the third front row Motorsports cars. We know that's off the table now. So if he hadn't have done that, your people in the pipeline are Hailie Deegan and Frankie Muniz.
It's a little weak.
It's weak with a weak with a side of inexperience.
Yeah, especially on the Frankie Muniz side.
Yeah.
Now, we're still keeping an eye on the Haley Deegan watch because we've kind of been able to prove that her release from the AM Racing number 15 car wasn't really because of the driver. It really does seem to be more about the car.
Because if you are having to resort to putting none other than Lawless Allen in the car at Michigan.
Great name, yes. Performance-wise?
With no starts in Xfinity in a drafting style setup because they ran a super speedway package at Michigan. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one.
We'll keep an eye on the Haley Deegan situation, and as soon as we find out something, we'll let you know. One of the other female drivers out there, we talked about this on the 2-hour show last weekend as well. Natalie Decker is pregnant with her husband, who is also a part-time NASCAR driver, mostly truck series. She has found herself in a situation where she is shooting down rumors. Apparently, rumors started over the last couple of days that she would be retiring from full-time driving, or from driving, full-time or not. She says that's a no. She's not going to retire. She's planning on continuing her driving career. We'll see.
Well, just get the right opportunity, take it. I mean, make sure your child's okay first. Make sure yourself is okay second, and then go back at it as you see fit.
Absolutely, you can, and knock it out. And it'll be interesting to see what it is that she is going to get over the next couple of years and see where she is, because she's what, 24?
Early 20s, yeah.
Early 20s? Okay.
Early mid-20s, yeah.
All right, so we'll see what happens there. Other news that we'll have throughout the course of the week will, of course, fill you in on the 2-hour show coming up this Saturday. Don't forget about it. Go to CRN Live. You can tune in at 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central Time. Make sure you subscribe there. And, of course, subscribe to JocksTV.com, Jocks TV right here on YouTube as well. If you haven't already, it'd be right down here, just below the video. So let's get into it. 2025 schedule has been the subject of a whole lot of speculation and a pretty good amount of rumor. We've dealt with it twice with big graphics up here on the screens behind us. First time around, one person surmised that not only would the 2025 schedule have both Mexico City and Montreal, but that we would be returning back east for the Busch Clash at Rockingham. We debunked that pretty quick. A couple of weeks ago, had another one. This one seemed to have a lot more legitimacy because everything that we had heard up to that point really kind of fit in.
Some things were lining up, yes.
But one thing that opened up our eyeballs, trip to Mexico City, NASCAR commented on it, stated, yeah, we're talking to Mexico City, but we're also talking to Montreal, as keen as they are about doing a race outside of the United States. And then you looked at the beginning. 3 years after being out in Los Angeles at the LA Mausoleum / Coliseum, they said, yeah, we're pretty much done with that. Which, again, interesting idea, but you're spending a whole lot of money, which USC likes.
Yep.
You're spending a whole lot of money to take a football stadium, get rid of all the turf, lay down an asphalt track, run a couple of races there over a weekend. Then you have to rip all the asphalt up and re-sod the place for the USC Trojans. They were loving it, but the checkbook that NASCAR had, probably not. We're talking multiple millions of dollars to do all of that. 3 years later, finally, we're done with it. But we're going to stay in a stadium?
I'm sure the hauler drivers are loving not having to go of I-40 down to I-10 and go to LA. I'm sure they're loving that, those team drivers.
That's a long trek. In this case, they are going on the interstate up, 77? I think it is?
Yes, going up 77 over to Winston-Salem to that little place called Bowman Gray Stadium.
The good news is it's not long a trip. It's not as long a trip. Heck, it's not even as long a trip as to get to Daytona, which is where the Busch Light Clash began, where it started in 1979 and had been until 4 years ago. Nice little short trip, nice little short track, which does have a history in NASCAR as well.
It did be the first race since the 70s First cup race since the 70s
I
there.
want to say 1971 is what I remember.
71, 72, something like that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to put this disclaimer out there now. Do not touch the track. Don't touch the outside part of it. Leave the guardrail barriers up. Run it in its classic form. Because if you can run a K&N, which is now ARCA Series East there, ARCA Series race there, if you can run late models and modifieds there, you can run the Cup car there.
And this isn't a long track.
Touch it.
I mean, again, it's a track that's going around a football field.
Yeah. Leave the grass in the middle. Don't touch it. Leave the outside pit area set up as is. Leave it alone.
Yeah. I mean, we get it. The safer barriers is a fantastic thing. Don't get us wrong. We've seen it in action up close at multiple tracks, live and on television, live and in person and on television. It's a great thing, but you're not going the speeds that you go at Michigan. You're not going the speed you go at Talladega. You're not going the speed you go at Atlanta. You're not going the speeds even at Richmond at Bowman Gray Stadium.
Your
Guardrail's going to be fine.
You're going to be lucky if they even get out of second gear on the straightaway.
Yeah. I mean, this is a very short track.
Very.
Classic stadium, though. Look it up. I mean, you'll see the picture up here in just a couple of minutes. And you'll get an idea of what we're talking about. This is, think about your high school football field. Think about a football field at college and then figure a track around it. That's literally what it is.
I kind of got into a debate the other day with someone that kind of was, they were kind of just on the subject. Let's call it that. I went, okay, why? Why are you on the subject? It's a much better move because you're not wasting $50+ million to transform a stinking football stadium, the United Airlines field at LA Coliseum. Mm-hmm. I'll call it for what it is. That's what the stadium is.
Yeah.
To go try to draw a crowd of 80,000 people that could probably care less in downtown Los Angeles. They could probably care less. You're taking it to a grassroots facility where people are doing backflips and somersaults because you're bringing it there versus going somewhere where people probably don't care and you're trying to go outside of your, what's the word I'm looking for here? You're trying to go outside of the demographic to pull people in. Now, let me back up and say this. There's nothing wrong with going outside of the base demographic and pulling new people in. There's nothing wrong with that. You could do that in much different locations than in downtown Los Angeles.
Yeah. The amount of money that they were spending to reform that stadium, as Matt was just talking about, number one, the amount of money that they were sinking into getting the performers to perform there, that was at least as much of the attraction for the number of fans that were going out there, which they had pretty decent crowds, a couple of years. Anywhere between 60 to 100,000 from what we heard last year versus, say, year one. But as many of them were going to see the music acts as they were going to see the racing. And to a certain extent, that's kudos to NASCAR for going out and getting big enough names that it's going to draw in people that wouldn't normally go see a race. But at the same time, we want them to actually come see the race and have the concert be secondary to that, not the primary thing. So this situation, NASCAR gets to go out there, save the money that they were spending by leasing the track from USC and the city of Los Angeles, having to redo everything that we were talking about and then put it all back. In this case, they've struck a deal with the city of Winston-Salem, which owns Bowman Gray Stadium, to cover all the racing activity there through 2050. This is just paying off the investment that they've already made. And it's a heck of a lot cheaper than what they were paying Los Angeles and USC.
Considerably cheaper. And if you can take some of that money that you were using to revamp the Coliseum and invest it in the Bowman Gray and modernize the facility while keeping its heritage look. That may be double standard of what I'm saying there, but anybody will understand and follow what I'm saying.
Sure. And
modernize it, but yet keep it historic.
Yeah.
Take that money and do that. This clash will be more popular or just as popular as the ones that used to be at Daytona.
Yeah.
It will be that hands down.
Will you have that many people in the stands? Well, no. Bowman Gray Stadium doesn't seat as many as a Daytona. Heck, it doesn't seat anywhere near the amount that are in the LA Coliseum either.
Bowman Gray is, I think, 16,000.
Okay. Some of that money could be spent to keep the basic look that you were talking about,
Sure.
but to be able to expand out the seating capacity as well. Because certainly on year one, there's going to be a lot of interest in seeing them come back to Bowman Gray Stadium, a place where they ran every single year from 1958 to 1971. And NASCAR owned actually for a pretty good while, from about 1949 to the early to mid 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Before they sold it off. And there was a lot of interest there. And Bowman Gray Stadium still gets, as you noted, like the ARCA series and, local racing, and they draw pretty good crowds. So yeah, you could take some of that money that you saved from doing the whole LA thing, and you could really make Bowman Gray a nice stadium for literally everything, from any kind of sports that would play on the field to the racetrack. And it would be a nice turnout, especially for the local racers.
For sure. But I will sit and I'll say this here, since we're going back onto the grassroots and historic basis with Bowman Gray Stadium coming back in 2025 to run the Clash. Give me the keys to the series for one weekend. Give me the keys. Let me set the format. Let me set the weekend procedures, and I can sit and guarantee you right now. I promise, guarantee, I don't care what words you use. I will guarantee you that I will pack the facility out. No seats left. I will get higher ratings on television through the entire weekend. Because here's what I'm doing. Friday, we're going back to the first round of practice. Friday afternoon, we're going to round one of qualifying. Saturday morning, we're going to go round two of qualifying. We're setting our top 20 day one. Day two, we're going 21 to 40. Let's say it's 40 car field entry list. 21 to 40. We're going to set it that way. Then in the afternoon, after the Xfinity or truck race, we're going old school happy hour.
Nice.
We're going old school happy hour. Because there have been several times in Talladega back in the 90s where I would be in the stands as a kid, and you would have happy hour with 70,000 people in the stands.
Sure.
80,000 at least.
You want to make this an event. This is the opening to your year. This is setting the tone for the rest of the 2025 season. Go out there, put these guys out on the track, show them off. This is a showcase cash grab situation where you're trying to grab everybody's attention in the middle of the biggest couple of weeks in the National Football League. Okay? They're running that week, February the 2nd, I believe it is.
Correct.
The week after the AFC and NFC championship games and the week before the Super Bowl. This is your opportunity where nothing is going on except some NHL and some NBA. Okay, big deal. This is an all-star event for you. This is a big-time money grab for you. This is where you will set the tone for the 2025 season. Go out there and do it all. If you're going to go throwback, I agree. Throw it all the way back. Bring it.
Throw it way back, one. Two, I'm going to have a tough choice for what I want to do for my birthday next year. So that falls within a 1 week time span, because with the Southeastern Conference releasing basketball schedules, Tennessee goes to Neville Arena, and then we got Bowman Gray the week after. Ooh,
Yeah.
I got a tough choice.
Indeed. No doubt about it. So we'll keep an eye on things and figure out whether or not NASCAR is going to take the free advice that Matt just gave them. We're hoping.
I promise you it'll work.
Last summer, right about this time last year, we saw something in the race at Daytona that we just don't really see a whole lot. And it took until this time this year at Michigan last weekend to see it again, and we saw it twice over the weekend. What am I referring to? Last year at Daytona, Ryan Preece got turned, ended up going into, and this caused Daytona to go and pave over all of the grass, mind you. And he got spun, and when he was going sideways and hit one of that patches of grass, barrel roll.
Car catapulted,
We counted 10 to 12 times. I can't remember the number.
I watched it in slow motion several times, and I counted at least 14.
Okay. So we'll say 10 to 15 just to put the window on it. That's rough. Corey LaJoie just had himself a nice little turn. And by the way, so did Kyle Sieg. We'll go to Saturday first. Because we'll take it in chronological order. We were on the last lap on an overtime restart. And of course, if you're in that situation, you know this by now. When you are dealing with a green-white checkered, you're not going to get a whole lot of separation in the field. On the last lap, which means white flag's been shown, next flag makes the race official. Whoever's out front happens to be your winner. Kyle Sieg and I can't remember who the driver was.
Carson Kvapil.
Carson Kvapil, thank you very much. Kyle and Carson got together because there was somebody spinning in front of them, and it just caused everybody to kind of check up and start to move around.
Check that. Boom. Carson Kvapil got turned into the wall. Chandler Smith ended up getting into Kyle Sieg as a collection of the wreck, is what happened.
Yeah. So here goes Kyle Sieg, I should say. They go down to the apron, and in the process of one car hitting another, his car flips over onto the roof and slides all the way down the back stretch until you get to the entrance of turn 3 on the track. Well, what at Michigan is in the entrance to turn 3 down towards the infield?
That would be grass.
The transition from concrete to grass, which caused the car to flip over and barrel roll another half time. It landed on its wheels, thankfully, and Kyle was okay. Checked out of the infield care center and released. Same day, didn't have to go to a local hospital. Sunday comes along, and they start the race. It gets rained out. We go to Monday. Coming off of turn 2, here comes Corey LaJoie, and the car kind of just, I don't want to say it lost it on its own, because he was coming up on the back of Noah Gragson's number 10 car.
He tried to side draft Gragson on the left rear corner.
Yeah, and he made the move to get below him a little bit too late, and they touched corners, rear corner to front corner.
They didn't even. I watched it in slow mo.
I saw a little bit of smoke at one point in time.
But what happened is when Corey went to his left rear, he tried to use the pocket of air to side draft and get pulled ahead of it. He never touched, and some reason, somehow, when he went, the car just snapped, and when that smoke that you saw was when he locked the car down, and the left rear tire just popped. It was a quick puff.
Well, this is coming off of turn 2, remember?
Yep.
So he goes over, and as soon as he gets this way, that car flipped over for reasons we don't know. We have yet to figure it out. We'll get into it here in just a second. Flips over on its roof, goes sliding all the way down the backstretch. Remember that transition we were talking about going into turn 3? Mm-hmm. Was still going pretty quick on its roof when it got to the grass. Barrel rolled 1.5 times there before landing on its tires. Once again, Corey was checked out of the infield care center and released. Thankfully, he was okay. The question becomes, okay, we can get some influence that we might be able to attribute to it in the Kyle Sieg situation. What in the heck put Corey LaJoie on his roof?
The Kyle Sieg situation, when Kyle got upside down, Chandler Smith's car actually helped launch that car over. All right, we've seen that happen in Talladega 1,000 times.
Oh, sure.
Okay. That one, you can kind of just really erase that one off the paper because you know what caused that one. But with Corey's situation, it's still a head scratcher. Because how does that car with that much downforce get over that easy by itself? Too easy. Well, if anybody with a brain in the competition department would open their eyes and look and realize, if you take off this floor pan of the car, you're going to help keep it from getting over so much. But if you go back and look, there's really two things that I saw within this right here. One, it leaves you with a question mark of like, wait a minute here. Then you have to watch it slower and slower and slower to see what you're talking about. When he gets sideways at a point and the right rear is kicked forward, in front of the right rear, if the right rear is kicked forward in front of the right front while it's coming around like it's going to spin, if you watch it in quarter speed, if you look at the right rear corner of the roof, it almost looks like, and it's not the roof flap, because I watched it, double checked it, and just as many times as I could to make sure I wasn't seeing the roof flap come up. It looks like the corner of the roof detaches from the top of the car and helps launch the car.
Which that would become a parachute.
Yeah, it would become a parachute then. But one, why is the car detaching it? Pieces of the car detaching itself with no contact, with air is pulling it up. That's a big question mark to me and a big red flag if that did happen.
Yeah, something's not locked down the way that it should have been.
Secondly, we're back to this old soapbox, T-box pedestal we have with officiating. I watched a view of that flip from Denny Hamlin's in-car camera.
Mm-hmm. Which he had a good view of it.
And Chris Lambert, his spotter, is going, keep digging, no caution. Good grief, what are they waiting on? They just now threw the caution. And he's already upside down in the grass and rolled over before they threw it.
Yeah. Him being on his roof should have made them throw that caution.
When that car got off the ground, that should have been a caution.
True. And we've seen them throw faster cautions.
Oh, yeah. They threw an awfully quick one at the end of the race where Truex just went like...
Yeah. Amazing how fast that yellow popped out.
Yeah. Oh, well, we're creating overtime drama. Learn how to officiate a race. Because I know, he knows, we both know together. There are spotters positioned all around that racetrack, inside and outside, where there's a double sets of eyes looking on any one given section. Why would immediately the track spotter not say, let's say it's me and say my number is 224. 224 the tire, we got a car upside down on the backstretch. That light should have come on immediately.
Yeah.
Car upside down. Oh, he's rolling. Caution.
Yeah. Did you lose
what
the
are we doing?
that turns the lights yellow?
Because at the
Did you lose it somewhere?
Because at the end of the race, we're sitting there going, where's it at?
They've got their hand over waiting to go.
Where's it at? He touched it. Oh, there we go. Like we're trying to play round one of Family Feud and you got your hand behind your back, go, okay, name something that would cause a caution. Truex touching the wall. Nope. Not even close.
Yeah.
Your answer, a car upside down. Ding! Number one.
Should be.
It's unfathomable why we have... I almost thought about taking the political for a minute, but I'm not. We're a motorsport show. We're not political. We're not going to go that route because it's causing too much garbage in today's world.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to keep the peace here. But the staff officiating these races and calling these races from the box need to be re-evaluated.
All we've been asking for, and it's been one of the hallmarks of this podcast and our 2-hour show, especially this year, but over the last several years, really, is because it has been so glaringly inconsistent, is we're just asking NASCAR to find consistency in the officiating. I mean, if at one point in time you're going to see a car begin a spin and you throw the caution before that car hits the wall, and sometimes it never does, it just comes to a stop and the driver's able to refire it and roll on. But yet you threw a caution because you thought, maybe that car could hit the wall. But you waited until well after this car had gone airborne, flipped over on its roof, and was sliding at a pretty good rate of speed down the backstretch before you threw a caution on this situation? Which is more serious? I'm more than willing to let a car slide and come to a stop. And if it doesn't hit anything, I'm going to let things go green if he can get that car back rolling. But a car on its roof? This ain't the days of Dale Earnhardt when he barrel rolled and the car landed on its wheels, but he's sitting in the ambulance. He looks in there and goes, will the car fire? And the guy said, yes. He got out of the ambulance, got back in the car, and drove off. Those days are gone. That yellow should have come out as soon as that car got airborne.
The way it needs to be, and if anybody from the officiating portion of the series may catch this, please by all means, I will be happy to jump in and help officiate a race. If a car just spins and it's a lazy spin, give them a cap of 3 seconds to move. If they don't move within 3 seconds, then you throw the caution.
Sure.
You don't immediately go, and then you got on the radio, Mike Bagley's calling, we got trouble. Steve West is up out of the groove. He's sideways. He's hanging on to it. Oh, caution's out. But he's still rolling forward. There's a difference. Why? And there's more than one of us have bashed them for having such trigger-happy finger on the caution button.
Yeah. We've heard it from the Motor Racing Network. We've heard it from the Performance Racing Network, the two big radio teams. And truth be told, we've heard it on television too.
Yep.
Got to get that consistency. Somewhere NASCAR got to get that consistency. If you got a hair trigger at the end of the race, you should have a hair trigger throughout the entire race. We kind of think you don't need a hair trigger. Again, be paying very close attention to what's going on out there and figure out the seriousness of it. Again, lazy spin, that's one thing. Don't need to throw the caution for that. Airborne, flip it over onto its roof, that demands a caution.
That's an immediate caution.
Before that car lands, the yellows should have been blinking on the lights all the way around Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And we go to Daytona. Think about that for a minute. We got Daytona this weekend. If there's any place that you really need to understand about making sure that you know what you're doing with the caution flag, I present to you Daytona and its sister track, just about 40 miles down the road from us here in Birmingham, Talladega. Safety is the ultimate at those two facilities. Be very aware, please, and get some consistency before Friday night. Before Friday night, when we were running the Xfinity Series race, and then Saturday night when we got the Cup Series out there. Because this is important on several levels. Last year, this was the cutoff race before we got to the playoffs. This year, because of the Olympics, no, but you're still talking about this race and Darlington, and that's it. 2 races left before we figure out the 16 cars that are going to be gunning for the Cup Series title at Phoenix in November. You got to get this right. A lot of eyes are on you, and you're putting it on NBC. A lot of eyes are going to be on you.
Yep.
Better be ready for the big show, folks. Speaking of the big show, coming up Saturday, again, 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central Time. You can check it out by going to CRN Live on YouTube. Please subscribe to it. We'd love it. We're working up our way towards 110 at just the beginnings of it. We like it. We'd like to see that number not only get there, but continue to increase. So please do that. And don't forget, right here on Jocks 94.5 YouTube TV, subscribe right down below as well, would you? We appreciate it very much. We'll talk to you Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central Time. And of course, we'll have another edition of Crossed Flags, episode number 23, coming up next Wednesday with our new producer, Carrie. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll talk to you Saturday and next Wednesday.
You've been listening to Crossed Flags, a racing podcast. For more content like this, subscribe to CRN Live on YouTube, and you'll be set to catch the 2-hour live show every Saturday morning at 9 Eastern, 8 Central.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.